Hi there. I'm just going to share with you the steps that we are doing for creating this caged wire wrapped pendant with our sea glass, using the materials that you have and something that we practice together. So I shared with you that I make some jewelry out of wire and sea glass. Here is an example that I have. This is a little elaborate with my twists and turns, and a couple things you might notice that it's very secure because I had to really plan out and think about how I wrapped my wire around the sea glass in order to make it secure but also create a decorative design. Sometimes you can even add other elements such as a bead or any kind of decorative aspects to this. And we're just going to be making a basic caged wire wrap on your sea glass. So I'm giving you this video as a way of you to do this on your own now, so that anything that we did together in the Girl Scout activity, you can now try this on your own and perhaps make other necklaces. So this is what we are working on here, making a very basic wire wrapped, cage wrapped pendant. And I have my wire here, which is 20 inches long. And the first thing we do is we bend it in half evenly. So I usually will say, and make sure you have your needle nose pliers. I like to make sure I have my materials, my needle nose pliers, scissors, or I could have wire cutters. If you have jewelry tools, that's great. If you don't, just use scissors. So our needle nose pliers are going to come in handy in the first step. For the first step, we're going to create our loop, which is going to be the twist at the top of our necklace, which is going to help us to string it onto any cord of choice. So I'm going to create the loop by taking my needle nose plier. I might just go in the middle so I don't make it too big. And what I usually do, you can even just do this by hand as I showed you, but if you want a nice loop, you can just keep your needle nose pliers inside. And then basically it helps hold it for you. Don't press too hard because it can actually cut the wire if you press too hard. And then you just simply do a twist. I usually twist about 2 times in order to get an adequate twist there. And then I just sort of flatten it out, and you can even do an extra twist in there if you want at the end. All right, so now that I have that, I don't want to go down too far. That's actually a little further than I usually go. If you did go too far, you can always untwist it an extra time as needed. So now I'm going to take, but it's okay if you have a little bit in there. So now you're going to think about which direction that you want your pendant to go. I normally suggest having the largest part of the glass on the bottom and the smallest part at the top, because that gives you more room to wrap the wire around. So now that I have that, I'm going to just look at my pendant here, my sea glass that is, and I'm going to determine where I'm going to do my next twist. So I'm just doing this to help me gauge, because I want my loop to stay on top. Remember, that's where you're stringing it. So I want to make sure I have a twist kind of in the middle of my pendant, because that's where I'm going to actually need it to be. So if you notice on the back here, right around here. So I would say that's approximately like 2 fingers width. I use my fingers a lot to measure in my art and my jewelry. So I'm just gonna create a little twist here. I'm gonna twist 2 times, enough so that it feels secure. So remember I said approximately 2 fingers, maybe actually your index finger in the middle with a little bit of room in between, okay? Now, if it goes any further than your pendant, then you've gone too far down, so you don't want it below here, you want it in the middle, okay? Now, I want one side to come down and one side to come up. So this is essentially like a little L shape. You want to make sure that your loop stays above the sea glass here, okay? So I'm showing this to you on the back, what it looks like. I have one of my wires coming down, one of them going off to the side. So I've made essentially an L shape here. As you can see, if I turn it in the other direction, I'm going to turn this around now, okay? So I leave a little bit of room up here because that is where some of my excess wire is going to wrap around at the end. So we always want to make sure we have extra, okay? So the first part that I have on the bottom is coming up. Now remember, we're caging our sea glass. We are making it secure. So we want to make sure that we do that correctly. We want to make sure that it's tight but not too tight, because we want to leave a little room for adding some decorative aspects, which I'll show later. So sometimes what I do is I just kind of bend it around and twist it, but we want to kind of go up our sea glass versus down too much, because so I'm going to twist it up, I'm going to wrap it around. Now once I start seeing that it's getting a little bit shorter, this is a good length right here, that I have enough that I can take the extra wire and wrap it around the top. So the other thing is sometimes I take this and I twist it to the side, because essentially when you loop your necklace, you want it to go this way. You want the loop to be facing, so to be this way versus this way. So sometimes I take my needle nose plier in here, I twist around. You can take your wire, your needle nose plier, and twist it yourself with your plier. So I have enough here. I can probably wrap it around maybe 3 times. But when you cut it, you don't want the wire to be in the front. You want the part that you cut to be behind your pendant. So I'm going to trim this off. And then I just take my plier and I pinch it in very carefully, okay? You don't want to see that part in the back. It's hidden. It's a little secret back there. So now this is what it looks like, okay? I have this extra piece of wire. So it really takes time and patience. You have to really be taking your time and be mindful of where you're going with the wire. Sometimes here is where I might decide to add a bead, like I did in this one. I just added a little bead in the front. So I usually do that with the second wire because I know I have a little more control and I know it's already kind of tightened. So I would say if you wanted to, you could add a little bead at this point, but I'm just leaving mine as it is. And sometimes you can even do like a little twist and turn in the front, but not too much, because you know you want to make sure this is secure. And as I go up, I'm crisscrossing with that one. I'm planning it a little as I go and making sure I'm pulling it enough so that it tightens up once I get to this point. Remember, I would say 3 fingers wide is when it's getting really short, right? And then I'm going to start taking my wire again. I'm going to start with the front here. I'm going to pull it with my needle nose plier around a few times until I feel that it's tight enough and I don't have, and then remember, where do we leave the wire? In the back. We don't want anyone to see that. Part of what I think about when I design the jewelry is, you know, I don't want people to see where I have cut my wire. It just looks like one piece. So this is what it looks like so far. I just pinch it gently. Remember, don't pinch too hard. Now, we want to make sure, because this can slide, but we can also prevent it from sliding if we twist it in the right way. So we're very gently going to start making some little twists, like zigzags in our wire. And as you go, you'll feel the wire tightening, but don't pinch too hard, because you can actually break the wire if you do that. So I go very gently. and I ensure that I don't have any really loose feeling areas here. And even in the back, sometimes what I do is I tighten this up, or I move this over here, and I look at the bottom. I want to make sure this wire on the bottom here stays in the middle and it doesn't slide. So in order to do that, sometimes I just twist some things. I will sometimes just use my hands and press it down and create a little bit tighter. And as I'm doing that, I'm creating a design on my wire. So it works out for the better. So I can create some twists and turns here. And you just want to make sure that it looks like you took your time there. You're not like just jumbling the wire together, and really be gentle as you are doing this, because then you can easily cut the wire in the process. So there you have it. And then once you have this done, depending on the type of cord you have, you can add it to any cord that you have available for your necklace. And sometimes what I will do is, before I make my opening, I will try to see if my cord, now this one wouldn't go through obviously, but I might have, if I had been planning, I would have made it a little bigger. But you can easily, sometimes, like even with these types of chains, what I do is sometimes remove something so that I can put it on the necklace, so it takes a little time. Or you just use a cord that you have at home, or some something that'll help enhance your necklace there, and there you have it. And like I said, you can also at times add a little bead. So here are some examples. This is one where I added a bead. And just remember that you want to really take your time with the process and make sure that this is nice and secure in the back. Sometimes, like, I even go back in and I tighten it a little, because you don't want this to feel like it's sliding. Otherwise, it could easily fall off. And there you have it. There's your wire wrapped caged necklace with your sea glass. And thank you for watching.